The Rock and Roll Coffee Show is brought to you by Writers and Rockers Coffee Company, keeping the music and memories alive with some damn good coffee. Be sure to pick up your Rock and Roll Coffee Show coffee only at writersandrockerscoffee.com. And also brought to you by Retroactive, located at Broadway at the Beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, keeping you retro with everything from 70s, 80s, and 90s. ShopRetroactive.com.
Is 10 or 10 fucks too many?
We can see what happens.
11 is too many. 10 is okay.
10's okay, but 11 over the line, mister.
It's the rock and roll coffee show. Yeah, let's go.
I am Joe Sibilia, and this is the Rock and Roll Coffee Show. Welcome back to the show. My next guests are members from one of the hardest working bands out there right now. Describing themselves as a glam slam boogie woogie rock and roll band, they recently completed tours supporting Pretty Boy Floyd and Enough's Enough, and they're about to get out on the road and support Japanese rock legends Loudness starting May 4th in Clifton, New Jersey. Sam Spade and Chris Sniper Hineline are my guests from the Midnight Devils next on the Rock and Roll Coffee Show. Stick around.
It's the rock and roll coffee show. Yeah, let's go.
You guys were called the 3D in your face or something like that, right? I had no clue of this.
Actually, it started, it's kind of a weird story is how we started is I was the stage manager for this 80s hair metal band named 3D in Your Face. The guitar player quit, Sniper joined, and we were immediately became best friends. And through like a series of circumstances, he got me into the band as the bass player, put his foot down. He's like, you got this, you're the bass player. We loved the band. It just wasn't our band. So with the Midnight Devils, we decided to step out and kind of do our own thing and really call our shots and travel and really be the masters of our destiny without somebody else watching over us. So it was two different bands.
Okay. So you guys knew each other prior to all that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he was in a band called the Lowly Thieves, and they were doing an opening act, and their guitar, the 3D's guitar player had walked out on a Friday night show. On Saturday night, they needed somebody. They called me, and I drove up to this. I drove like 3 hours to meet him, and I just went in and called his covers, and I go, yeah, I can get through these, whatever. And so then Sam was his band opened, and then he was stage manager, and I was like, who's handing me water? And it was him, and then we instantly became friends, and he was handing me guitars and waters, and just give me the thumbs up, like, you're doing good. And so that's how we met, and we haven't stopped being friends since then. So it's been how many years
15
ago?
years almost.
Like 10, 12, 15 years, yeah, something like that.
So when did you break off of that to form Midnight Devils?
It was 2016 was when we were sitting in our dressing room. It was Sniper and I, and we just go, you know what? Let's start our own band, and we're gonna go out and do acoustic covers in these small towns. We're going to do the hair, do the makeup, but we're just going to do a 2-man acoustic group. We'll walk in, we'll take the money, we'll play the shows, and it'll be ezy. Well, really, it wasn't easy at all. It was really difficult to play as an acoustic band. It was terrible, actually, because people can talk louder than you're playing. So we're just like, man, this is rough. But we kept going, and we just kept playing these gigs and suffering, and then we finally got a drummer, and it kind of like Bob Dylan turned electric.
And was Jimmy your first drummer or no?
No,
Jimmy wasn't. We pulled in the drummer that was with 3D in Your Face at the time, and so we booked a tour down to Rocklahoma, which was like this huge thing. Our first tour, our first breakout, and 4 days into the tour, the drummer played a show Monday night, Kansas City, and walked off the stage to his girlfriend's waiting car and left the tour. Didn't say one word. Didn't get his drums. Didn't get anything. So that's kind of when Jimmy came into the mix, and we called him up, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to do the tour. I'll learn the songs. He learned all the songs like in his headphones on the ride down. So we drove from Kansas City to Chicago, picked him up, and drove back to Omaha, got in a van, and Sniper drove us back, and we finished the tour with Jimmy. And that's really how it worked. And we became like the same thing. We became best friends with Jimmy just through those kind of rough patches and just through that trial of making the tour happen.
Mm-hmm. So Sam, I'm noticing a common denominator here, which is you and why people are walking out on you.
It's because I'm a pushover, right? I really think it's not me. It kind of is me. It's both of us together. We're like this team of and we expect people to uphold a certain standard of excellence, if you will. If we're going to bring our best, everybody that's involved with us better bring their best every single time. He's the best at this, at being the musical director, of making sure that we have like our songs dialed in. And if you don't have your songs dialed in on stage, you got to answer to him at the end of the night. Nobody wants that.
It's usually a pillowcase and a can of Coke, you know, and so.
Are you tough on them?
I think that what it is we are so I think me and Sam are both just so relentless about pursuing what we want that other people just can't keep up. If they can't keep up, they move on. And so that drummer definitely, before Jimmy, was definitely just trouble. We were using him as far as we could, not using, but like we were playing with him as long as we could. And then drugs and
women and
just the whole behind the music thing happened, and I'm like, geez, Louise,
he couldn't hang. He couldn't hang.
And what happened to his drums?
Funny story.
Good story.
We had to supply the back line for the retrospect stage at Rocklahoma that year, and so I took him and put him in the van, and we drove down there, and Jimmy played him, and then when we came back, he wanted him back and said, "I'll drop him at your dad's house right now," you know. And so I went out there, and his dad is in the window, like in the window of the house, because he doesn't want to deal with it. I'm like, "You're 45 years old, living at home with your parents. Come on, man," you know. And he was getting all mouthy with me, and I literally said to him, "Do you want to get beat up in front of your dad? Because this is going to happen right now." I go, "Just shut up and take the drums, and let me give you a lesson."
He opened up the trunk of the tailgate of the truck and just floored it, and all the drums came tumbling.
I wish that was
that's how he dropped it.
in my head. That's how it happened. That's not really how it happened. I wanted it to happen.
I was believing you.
Yeah, I was actually pretty lenient. I'm like, he owed me like $600, and I gave him his drums back anyway. And I was like, "Yeah, good luck, buddy. I sincerely mean, I hope you do better and get off that shit." He's like, "F you and F that and F that." And I'm like, "Yeah, if you see me walking down the street, go the other side, bro. I'm not going to be this cool next time we see each other, you know?"
Mm-hmm.
And so I have not seen him since, but I heard a rumor that he's dumpster diving to buy or to get scrap to survive because he has no job, no money, no phone, no car.
No.
And I was like,
"This drums.
Sorry, man. I tried to help you, but."
Yeah. So, Sam, tell me a little bit about your like when you started playing. I mean, what gave you the bug to want to play rock and roll?
I was telling somebody this the other day. I was just celebrating my 38th birthday, last week. And that would make it so that I've been in a touring rock band for 20 years. This guy's got me beat, but I've been doing it for 20 years as kind of like, so I started when I was 18. I think I joined my first band called Officially Terminated. It was a touring punk band from here in Nebraska. And basically the first thing we did was we got out and started playing songs and putting our band on the road. Terrible. But it was through that introduction with Kiss and growing up in a small town and just this love of this music that I was like, this is what I want to do. And really we've made 20 years now of making music and traveling. So it's been, I think from where it came to where it is now, like it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's been a lot.
Mm-hmm. Did you start with bass?
I didn't. I started with guitar. I was actually a guitar player first, and I wasn't that good of a guitar player.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying anything.
I wasn't that good of a guitar player, but when the spot opened up for a bass player in 3D in Your Face, Sniper's like, learn all the songs, and I spent a month and just learned every song that they had in the set list. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm a bass player now. We can just put the guitars away.
I'm just gonna say, you know, it's not that he was a bad guitar player. It's just that he's better at bass. Does that make sense?
You can say it's not.
And so, and the whole, and the truth is, we both used to drink very heavily, and so we thought we were better than we were. And then when we both stopped drinking, we realized, oh, we need to practice more, you know. And so, I bet Clint Eastwood said a man's got to know his limitations, and you know that's where we're at. So we both stopped drinking, and instead of sinking all that money into booze and all that energy into drinking booze and chasing ladies and blowing all your money on everything else, we put the energy into writing songs and being relentless about getting on the road and playing shows and getting out as much as possible. And,
so don't get me wrong. We have a lot of fun, but
Sure.
And the being in this band is absolutely wild, especially with Jimmy Mess. It's the craziest thing. The stories and experiences we've had over the last 2 years are mind blowing, and you wouldn't believe the stuff if we even told you. But at the end of the day, Sniper's very good at keeping this on the front of our minds, that we have to play our show to the best of our abilities, blow every other band out of the water, and then you can go have fun. Then do whatever you want. Go get as crazy as you want, but make sure that there's a burning, smoldering hole on the stage
Right.
when we get done.
Well, I've only seen you guys at one time with Enough's Enough. I didn't catch you when you came to town with Pretty Boy Floyd. I missed that one. But with Enough's Enough, I mean, you guys killed it live.
Thank you.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
I mean, do you feel that you guys are, I mean, you really shine as a live band. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think we're kind of categorized in that equation of, now we're in the part where we're writing songs that go, how do we transition that live feel and that energy? Because our live show is so much energy, and we try and write it right there to that point where it's going to fall off the rails and just stay in that pocket. How do you capture that and put it on tape? That's our problem right now.
Yeah. Like Van Halen sounded really good on records, but when you see the live experience, Kiss as well. They sounded good on record. You go see them, it's just so overwhelming. That's what we're shooting for, is that just like, oh my good, like, oh wow, they did this, they did that, they did that, and we don't necessarily, we're not Dream Theater. We don't play that technical or whatever, but we just have a lot of fun, and we try to play the best we can and give the people the money, the show for the money. So I'm like, we don't gaze at our shoes. We move around a lot and have a lot of fun.
Our whole goal is to make sure if we're the opening act, the headlining act goes, damn it, we got to follow that.
I said the same thing.
That's what he does. He's so interactive with the crowd. And if you've seen us, you know what I'm talking about. He's very enthusiastic about getting into the crowd and making the crowd have as much fun as possible for they paid $5 to get in or $20 to get in or whatever. We want to make sure they get their money's worth,
Yeah,
he makes sure, but I know that
definitely. I mean, it looks like you guys are having a blast. So
it absolutely is. And with this band, we're unlike, and I don't say this as an egotistical thing, but we're not like any other band that's out there. And we were just out in Nashville. I was out in Nashville for the Rock and Pod convention, and I'm walking around looking at these band guys, and I go, like, some of them are older dudes, right? But there's guys that are our age and that like our contemporaries, and I'm the only one full makeup, wearing lingerie. Like it's not an act, and it's not a shtick. This is who we are, and we're gonna give that vibration and just let it marinate and see where it goes.
Yeah. When did the makeup and stuff? When did that all come into the picture? Was it from the beginning, or did that slowly progress into what it is now?
Even when we were in 3D, he wore makeup to a certain extent, but not as heavy. He started going to the white face, and I tried it a couple times, and I do this a lot when I'm playing, and so I just decided not to wear it at all because I end up everything on me is white. And so one thing about this band is nothing's off limits. We don't say no to anything. And so Jimmy and him wanted to wear makeup. And I get asked all the time why I don't wear makeup. And I said, because I do this all the time when I'm playing. And the makeup is very slippery, and it makes my picks not grippable. And so I just choose not to.
I tell people this. I go, with this band, what we're doing is we're expressing a freedom to be whoever you want to be, a freedom to dress however you want to dress. And he doesn't want to wear makeup. That's totally cool. That's his freedom. And anybody in the audience wants to dress up. We're playing to people of all different, no sexual orientation off limits. Nothing's off limits. And so it's like, we don't want to project some agenda on Sniper or project some agenda. He doesn't project his agenda on us. We don't do it on the crowd. It's that live and let live. Do whatever you want, because we're all here for the same reason.
Yeah. If we can make people forget about their problems for like an hour,
yeah,
that's it. I'm like, we did what we're supposed to do, because they're smiling, having fun. Tomorrow they got to go back to that shit job and work there and be miserable just like the rest of us were. And I'm like, So if we did that, whether you're wearing makeup or not, but his makeup has always been like changing. It changes throughout time.
Ever evolving.
Yes, ever evolving. You're like Einstein with that evolution,
Yeah. Now, Sam, I noticed, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were pretty influenced by Paul Stanley.
Yeah, it's total.
What?
How'd I guess?
It is, and it is. To me, it was like and you know how like you watch those videos when you're a kid in your influence time, I would say, in the time when you're soaking up all that influence. And mine was watching the Kiss videos, and I just took it all, and it's not something that I think about. It's just something that happens. And even if I try to control it and I try to like not do the Paul Stanley moves, it comes out, but it's different enough to where it's my own. And I really feel that as an entertainer, Paul Stanley, David Lee Roth, those were the guys, and those were the highest of highs, the ringleaders. And so to kind of attain to that and to follow in those footsteps, I think, and I don't think that there's anybody else doing it. And there's nobody in like our contemporaries. Like I said, there's no bands that really have the balls to put on makeup and wear lipstick and cover themselves in glitter and lay it all on the line. And that's really what we're doing, is we're bringing energy, we're bringing excitement, we're bringing dangerous electricity to the stage. And I think that's one thing that's really missing in rock and roll.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's very fun. I mean, you guys definitely bring it. Like I said, when I saw you, I was like, I was kind of surprised because I wasn't expecting that, and I was happy.
I appreciate
Good.
that. Yeah, and nobody is, and that's such a crazy thing to me because I don't think about it. I'm just excited to be up there, and I'm excited. Like when the intro's rolling, I'm jacked and I'm ready to roll, and the music just makes us move the way we move. It's not planned. It's not orchestrated. It's just the excitement level is like maximum as we're walking up on stage. And I see those guys, like I'll see guys that go on before us or go on after us, and I go, okay, we're coming for it. We're coming for you. It's fine. Do what you got to do, but we're coming for you.
Yeah. Now, Sniper, and I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this too, that you were influenced by Mr. Van Halen.
Who? Yeah.
Guy?
Yeah, the guy behind me. There's like 3 or 4 guys that I really like think are the shit, and of course, he's one of them. Pete Townsend. I love him. Yeah, this guy. He teaches me how not to play guitar. But I'm a big George Lynch, Eddie Van Halen guy. There's a few other weirdo guys that I like that aren't famous, that are cool, but I listen to. But they get mad at me when I'm on the bus when I'm like, "Hey man, can I listen to Steely Dan?" They're like, "No," and I'm like, "Come on, bro." But I just like music. I like everything. So, but when we write, I would say I'm influenced by like Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen and George Lynch and in that vein of guitar player. I grew up in that vein where back in the 80s, everybody had to have a super cool, hot, kick-ass guitar player. And
right.
That's,
I always wanted to be that guy, like
It's definitely a separation, and that's what is so cool about this band is that he doesn't just write guitar parts, he's writing riffs and licks. I can get up there with a Les Paul and play an A chord over and over, but he's writing these cool moving licks that make it really interesting for the listener and make the songs not just boring punk rock songs, I guess.
It's definitely a weird like thing that we have with that, because he's more influenced by punk and I'm more influenced by like guitar driven rock, and somehow we meet in the middle and it works for us. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it works for us. So it's just, we write, like I'll show him like we write at my house in the basement by the cat boxes, man. It smells down there, and but we were writing. I showed him this lick. I go, man, I wrote this cool lick. What do you think of it? It was the beginning of Highway 69, and he's like, oh yeah. And he taped it on his iPhone, took it home, came back like a few days later, had the entire song. Like I got this, change, and he already had it all mapped out. And I'm like, I don't know how he does it, but I'm like, it's really impressive that I just show him like a little part, like this much, and he comes back with the full song, and I might have to, do a little flavor here, a little flavor there, but for the most part, his punk attitude and writing comes into play, and it makes for an interesting combination. Like I said, I don't know if it's good or bad. It works for us, so
Is there one main songwriter in the band, or does everybody contribute mostly?
We do both. So, and what we figured out slightly over the 15 years that we've been together, is that we can each write songs, and they're good, but the best songs that we write are the songs that we collaborate with.
Yeah.
And I really think it takes the pressure off me as to writing guitar parts, and where I just can focus on writing melodies and really hooky choruses. So he'll take the guitar part and take the musical direction. I'll take the lyrics and the melody and kind of direct where the song is going to fit in.
Yeah, there are songs we've both written separately, and we both feel that they're okay, but they're not as good as the ones when we collaborate. The ones we do collaboration on seem to be more, I think, are better for whatever reason. Yeah.
So it's totally a Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Joe Perry, Steven Tyler, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards. It's that guitar player singer relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's weird, but it works for some reason.
Oh no, we're good.
You on? You good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got your record right here. Let's talk about this record a little bit. Well, actually, this CD. I'm old too, so
Soon to be record. Soon to be record.
There's vinyl coming out.
Oh, is it? When's
Yeah,
this
in the next month or so, we have a limited edition. We only did 300 copies, but it's a vinyl pressing, a 12-inch vinyl with Highway 69 and Working for the Weekend on one side, and then an etched back with our pictures on it. And it's got all new artwork, but it's a 12-inch single coming out in like a month or so.
Nice. And that'll be available on your website?
Yep, themidnightdevils.com.
Okay, I'll have to watch for that. But talk about this a little bit, because this was, you had Chip Z Nuff produce this for you, right?
Yeah.
How did that all come about?
Chip was, Jimmy, our drummer, Jimmy Mess, lives in Chicago. He moved from, I believe, the Northwest, and he moved into Chip's house. And Chip and Jimmy were living together. And if you can even imagine the amount of reefer that was smoked, like the velvet couches lined with food, they would tell us stories. Chip's wife would come down and be like, "You guys have been smoking weed, watching TV for the last 5 hours." So there was a good relationship there. When we started the Midnight Devils, got Jimmy in, we started doing shows with Enough's Enough, and we became friends with them and friends with Chip. And eventually they're like, let's Chip goes, "I want to produce your record, bro." And we're like, I don't know. And then we thought, well, we got nothing to lose. We had some success with the first record that came out in 2018. Let's push ourselves and push this record and push our songs, see if we can get to another level. And that's what we did with this one. And having Chip on board really did that and really simplified, brought out the best in us. And he really produced the hell out of it. It became almost, I say it like the George Martin of the Midnight Devils, almost the fourth member of the Midnight Devils.
Mm-hmm.
Did it at his house in Blue Island. It was great.
How was it working with him? I mean, did he like change your ideas around, or did he let you pretty much go with what you wanted to do? I mean, how do you work with you?
He really, now it was weird. What was weird was we recorded it really odd for me, because I like doing it like the old school where you all play at once in separate rooms, and we didn't do that. We did like drums. We'd play scratch tracks, and then you'd play to that track, and then they got they did all the drums then on like a Saturday, wasn't it? And then I came up after that and did all the guitar tracks. And Chip didn't change too much, didn't do too much for me. When it came to solos, or actually you did the vocals next, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
He wanted me to do the solos after the vocals, and we had the majority. We wrote, no, we didn't write any songs in the studio. We did a cover. We had to learn a cover, but we had everything written. So he really didn't change much. He added little nuances here and there, but it was like the backup vocals and stuff like that. That's where he really put his magic spin on it, adding little things to the song. Sonic Landscape, that's what he called it. And so the only time he told me no was one time. I remember this. He was reading something on his phone, had his glasses down, was reading something on the phone. I was in the guitar room recording.
Smoking a joint.
Yeah, he had a hooter. And I did some at the end of Highway 69, and he's like, "No," just like that. And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Keep it simple, bro." And he's like, what's it? I can't remember. Rob, erase all that. And I'm like, "Oh man." He's like, "Don't put any of that on there. Let's just let the song speak for itself." And I'm like, "Okay." That's the only time he told me no. Everything else, he just let me play. And he'd say, "Good one, bro. Next song," And as far as vocals go, he layered and did so much magic with the vocals and the nuanced things, like saying, "Hey man, maybe the bass player should play the flatted note here, so it sounds like a third instead of like a fifth chord." And he did that kind of stuff and made it have that Chicago Cheap Trick kind of vibe, if you will. Mm-hmm. Okay. The Sonic Landscape thing, and some of the stuff you never heard because we'd listen to it and go, "That's just too much. It's too much." And so they'd lower it in the mix a little bit. It's there. It's not as out front, And, you know, so that's what Chip did. And like, and what song is he had the Come On Down? What song is that in?
I don't know.
Is it Crankdown?
Crankdown.
Crankdown.
Yeah.
There's a song called Crankdown where it's like, come on down. He's got the Bob Barker stuff in there and did a few things like that.
I remember what he did with Jimmy. Like, I know I was kind of nervous to bring the songs in because like platinum performer, platinum songwriter, like wrote 1 million songs, bang Madonna, did all this stuff. He made it really cool in his house, in his studio. Yeah. And so we show him the songs and he's like, I like him. All right, let's play him. And so Jimmy's playing the drums and he goes, Jimmy, no fills, bro. Play it like the Ramones. And I was like, that's stupid. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard, right? And then we listened to the playback and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, so it was just, there was no fills. It was just straight through on the drum parts. And I go, that was brilliant. Changed the whole song.
Yeah. Yeah. How about your bass? With him being a bass player, was he hard on that, or?
He's like, don't even bring the bass in. My God. So we'd like be playing, so we'd be sitting there playing the demos or getting the bass tracks, and he'd come up behind me and you know, he'll like not take the guitar, but he'll like grab the guitar neck and play while I'm standing in between him, you know? And I was like, okay, that's how we're gonna do it.
I guess you're doing like you're doing a flatted note there. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, he helped a ton on the bass playing, on the singing, on the songwriting, the cadences, the way that the really bringing the hooks out of the songs. And I think that was the cool thing. Bring the hooks. Don't bore us. Get to the chorus. Like, it's got to be massive.
Yeah, yeah. Now you were touring a lot for this record so far, right?
Yeah.
Been on the road pretty heavy, and you're still going on the road.
Yeah. We traveled the world, and I don't take it lightly at all. We don't take this lightly. We have been very, very blessed. We've worked our asses off, but with Never Beg For It, we got to travel to Europe and travel the world promoting this record. And we crossed the United States 3 or 4 times. We played the Whiskey. We played all these great festivals, Rockfest, Rocklahoma, M3. And it seems like we had talked about this so many years ago, like when we didn't have gigs, when we had nowhere to go, we had no road shows. We go, man, the formula is put out a record, tour on that record, hit every small town everywhere in the whole United States, and then put out another record and do the same thing over again. And we talked about that, and now we're kind of doing that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Back in the olden days, if you remember, they like bands like Van Halen and Aerosmith, they put a record out a year and tour. That's what they did. I mean, like 6 albums, 6 years. You're like, holy, that's unheard of today. Because they try to, you know, I think Bon Jovi toured 3 or 4 years on Slippery When Wet. You know, I mean, he toured forever on that. And we were like, let's try to write songs. That's what we're doing now. We're trying to write another follow-up, you know, for Never Beg For It, because we got a little bit of downtime and we just said, let's not waste time. Let's just keep writing songs. And we have 7 or 8 in the can now. And we're working on another cover to put on the record. And I can't say what it is. And we're going to try to do 11 or 12 songs on the record, and with one cover being one of those. And we ain't fooling around, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So why are you choosing to do another cover?
Well, for one thing, it's like one of the coolest songs ever that we always liked. Me and him both like. I said, what about this song? He's like, hell yeah. And Jimmy digs it too. And for whatever reason, Chip's like, I'll do my best Chip imitation. Bro, gonna need a cover on that record, or they're gonna want a cover on there. Pick one and have it learned by tomorrow. And we're like, whoa, what the? And so we picked one, and we're driving by. We're in Chicago in the van, and we're driving by this place where we get hot dogs, and there some crazy songs up thrown around, and I'm just like this. No, we're not doing Taylor Swift. No, we're not doing. I mean, these crazy songs I've thrown out. And Loverboy came on the radio, and it was
loving every minute of
something like that. Yeah, I was like that. And I go, what about Working for the Weekend? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. So we went and learned it real quick in Jimmy's apartment, and went the next day and recorded it. So we'd never played it together as a band ever. Just we both learned the parts and went to it and just recorded it, and that was it. And then I had to come back later for a solo and everything. I had no clue what to do, kind of thing. That's what Chip wanted. So we figured this time. Same deal. We'll have it ready this time in the chamber, as they call it, in the chamber, ready to go. You know,
is Chip producing the new one? Or you're not sure?
Well,
We think so.
We hope so.
We talked to him about it.
We don't know yet.
The timing, it's really up to timing with us having downtime right now, writing the record, and then we leave May 4th. We'll leave about May 2nd to kick off the Loudness tour, which begins in Clifton, New Jersey, and lasts from May 4th to June 4th. So it's like, well, we got that time, and then we have a break, and then we go out on a headlining tour, and then we have a break, and then we go overseas. So we're like, when are we going to record this? Who knows, but we'll have the songs ready to go. Whenever we have that time, we'll just be able to flip the switch and go do it.
Yeah. How is the reaction from fans overseas? You guys get a good following over there?
It was much better than I ever even anticipated. Yeah. I'll tell you that. Going into Europe it was a 2-year process of us working and making these contacts and lining up all this stuff, getting passports. And I'm like, man, I hope this is worth it, because we're going through hell to put our band, overseas in Europe. And we got there, and the first night we landed, we touched down, we walk into the venue, and it's HRH. It's this big festival. People are already like, Midnight Devils, Midnight Devils.
We couldn't believe it. Yeah.
They knew who we were. And then we're like, okay, well, that's really good, but we're playing the side stage. How good is this really going to be? We walk out on stage, 500 people bouncing up and down to our songs. And I'm like, this is it. Like, we're doing our dream. We're making it happen. And so every show, it seemed like people in Europe were more into what we were doing. And it wasn't such a struggle to get them to loosen up. Where here in the United States, you really got to like pound them till they eventually give in. Like, I'll last longer than you, the war of attrition. But in Europe, they show up with the battle vests on and they're ready to party. That was it was really cool.
Yeah, it was super cool.
It seemed like they loved rock and roll. They were so into it. And being an American band, American bands hit different in Europe.
Yeah, sure do.
Yeah, they do. I wonder why that is.
I don't know. And we played with a band, like a French band, and we played with other English bands and all this stuff. And I go, well, these bands are great. For some reason, the American bands just got like the high octane.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Language barrier, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. All right, but so you're going out with Loudness. Now that you got some dates on that, right? That's going to be a little bit, 2 months or so. Is it that long?
Huge, yeah. It's a huge 1 month, May 4th through June 4th. But it's like we do in 5 days with one or 2 day break every week for 4 weeks, and it's like not just a direct line across the United States. We go start in New Jersey and go to Atlanta, and then to Ohio, and then to Texas, and then Chicago. And like we just keep zigzagging.
St. Louis.
Yeah.
St. Louis.
So it's good for us because it's all the markets that we've hit through our consecutive tours with Enough Enough, with Pretty Boy Floyd. We're doing it all in one big tour now with Loudness.
Do you find when you go to repeat towns that the crowd gets bigger each time?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we get, like, when Sam does a live feed, or he'll do like a live video or something saying, hey, this is what's new. Everybody's like, come back here, come back here. The views are up, and everybody wants us to play Indiana or South Carolina.
I feel it's not just that we've made fans; it's that we made friends and we made family. And these people, we got like these little clusters of people all over the United States, all over the world, that are now like our close personal friends, and we got to come back and party with our close personal friends again. So I don't feel like it's fans. It's like this whole big movement.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Now I've listened to the first record, and then I've listened to Never Beg for It. And I feel between those two records that you guys have grown as a band. Do you feel that in the band? Do you feel that you guys are growing and progressing?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I was that guy that always wanted to be the best musician in the band, no matter what band I was in. I was push myself. And I try to push these guys too. And it's like herding cats sometimes, but I can get them to, listen to me once in a while. Usually I just threaten to not let them on the bus. And then if they don't listen to me, but Jimmy's changed a little bit. His playing's changed a little bit, and Sam's playing's changed quite a bit too. And I do push him because the records are played one way, but live, you kind of got to change them a little bit, because sometimes you can't do all the parts that you put on the record. So Sam will simplify his part sometimes to get the vocals down, which I'm okay with. I'll hold that part down, and then we'll extend songs and do the sing-alongs and everything. But through that, we got like a a mental telepathy or you know, like you feel it, you understand what the other guy's going to do. He'll look at you and I'm like, I got what you're doing. You're going to go one more time. Got it. You know, we get a certain feel for everything, and their musicianship, and I feel mine too, has improved. The more we play, the better it gets. Sometimes we don't play together for a month or two and we just get right back on stage. And it's like, yeah, well, it's like we didn't even take a break. I mean, I guess that's because it's our own material, but that's what I feel like, you know.
You kind of know your role in the band, and you accept that role, and then start growing.
Right.
You know, like I'm the front man, so I'm gonna grow as the front man and really push it where I know where I can almost think what he's gonna do and where he's gonna go. He's right. There's like a mental telepathy there, and with Jimmy, I'll give Jimmy the credit. He's a great drummer. One of the only drummers I've never ever had to like look back to see where he's at. Like I can do my thing as the front man, and I never have to worry that he's gonna stop playing. Sniper's like, keep going. You know, they really got it on lock where I can just flourish as a front man and really do the thing to push the show over the top where it needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about going to a 4-piece or back to a 4-piece?
There's been a lot of talk about it, and we don't know. We're leaving it up in the air. We don't know. So what we've been doing lately is guys that we've been on tour with will be like, come up and play. And we kind of feel it. I know you feel it too. There's like a different dynamic. It changes when I just get to be the front man, and having a bass player that doesn't have to do both at the same time. You get a better bass sound. So what we've discussed is like, man, wouldn't it be cool to have Chip as the bass player on the tour? Like the Midnight Devils featuring Chip. He's like, bro, I'd love to. I'll wear a dress. I'll wear lipstick. It's no problem. Let's do it. I go, oh, that's a good idea.
You need to do that. I got to.
It's a good idea.
In a dress with some makeup on.
It's a good idea. The Midnight Devils featuring Z Nuff, man, I'm telling you, selling some tickets on that one.
Do it.
Hey, let's play 2 or 3.
Yeah.
2 or 3 enough songs. The hits. Play
cool.
the hits.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, the dynamic definitely changes because I don't know if it's better or worse, but it definitely changes. And then all of a sudden, it's like the stage becomes crowded.
Yeah.
It's like when there's only 2 of us up there, it's pretty awesome. When there's 3, I'm like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? You know. And all my favorite bands growing up were 4-piece with the front man, guitar player, bass player, singer, The Who, Van Halen, you know, all that, Led Zeppelin, all them bands did that. I'm like, that's cool, except for some reason, you know, and you know, we should tell the story. We were a 4-piece,
right?
Initially, when we started the Midnight Devils as Electric, the singer was supposed to come down. We had September 17th, 2016. We had this date lined up. We had everything. We were going to do it all. We had a song list. He had them all. His car broke down in Indiana. He never showed up. So we had to go 3-piece because he never showed up. And so from that point forward, we realized, at first we didn't realize we could do it. And Sam sang probably like 80% of the songs. I sang a few, and we realized we could do it. And then that change kind of opened our eyes a little bit of what the possibilities were for us to be, and that we didn't need a front man who didn't really do that much.
Didn't hold any gear.
Yeah, I mean,
I got you.
The thing, you know, and then the dynamic on stage is definitely different. And we did dodge a bullet because this guy was like a lunatic on Facebook. I was just like, oh my God, talking about like conspiracies and flat earth. And I'm like, dude, if you're going to be in the band, you can't talk about that kind of stuff, you know? And so I'm like, I don't care what you believe, just don't talk about it on Facebook. And he was just insane. And Sam told me I can do it. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And so we've been that 3-piece ever since September 17th, 2016. Yeah.
Well, I think that worked out for you.
Thanks. I think so too.
There's
I mean,
no 3-pieces.
Yeah.
You know, even if he was just the front man and didn't play bass or guitar, I still don't think the energy would be the same because it's just the vibe is different with 4 people than it is with 3. And 3 is like, 3's, do you remember how I was like, oh, we need to be a 4-piece? We gotta have I was so opposed to being 3-piece. And he proved me wrong. I'm like, you're right, I'm wrong. The energy is perfect.
But I think we're leaving it open-ended right now to see whatever happens. You know, we're not saying yes or no to anything. And that's kind of the cool part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. You guys keep doing what you're doing. I mean, everything's sounding great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, good luck on tour. You'll be back out there May 4th. Is that what we said?
Yeah, May 4th in Clifton, New Jersey. Dingbats is the kickoff show, the lead-off show for the Loudness tour. and then we'll be cruising back through in July. That'll be kind of south, like Myrtle Beach area. We'll be doing a headlining tour. So we'll crisscross the United States twice before we join up with Pretty Boy Floyd and then head overseas.
Are you doing, you said a headline tour, are you bringing anybody with you, or are you going to?
We haven't decided yet. We've been putting it out there to see if anybody would want to see if anybody has, like, we want to be with the band that we can hang out with. Like we love touring with Enough's Enough because we hang out so well with them. Mm-hmm. So if we could take another band on tour, we really want to be able to enjoy that experience and be on the road with guys that we like and we enjoy hanging out with. So it's still, but and at the same token, I really want to return the favor of what Enough's Enough did for us and take a younger band out on the road, because I think that's what bands used to do back in the day, and they don't do it now without like a big buy-on or without they lose all the personality.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you know this about musicians, but they can kind of be dicks. So when you can find somebody you can tour with and get along with, and that you can talk to before the show starts, that's kind of it can be difficult at times. And so Enough's Enough and Pretty Boy Floyd, both of them were so easy to work with. We pride ourselves on being like really easy to work with. We're like, yeah, no problem. We can do it. We can do this. Choir Boys, another band, super easy to work with. British Gentlemen, nice guys. Pretty Boy Floyd, nice guys. And Enough's Enough, nice guys. And I just like, they're not like divas and demand this or demand that. They're really straightforward and easygoing. And so it's hard to find guys like that sometimes that just don't want to be like, oh, I thought there was going to be free alcohol here. And you're like, oh man, you don't need that. So, and so we've been real fortunate that way. And we've played with bands that aren't the best, and I'm not going to mention any names. It's not who I am, but there are people out there that give the rest of the guys bad names, and there's cool people too. Chip and Steve have been so cool to us in the past. We drive them around. And Pretty Boy Floyd rode in a bus with us for a month. So we heard things, saw things, but it's like, this is crazy. We're on the road with Pretty Boy Floyd in our bus. Like we're driving around with them. It's crazy.
So we're putting it out there. If there's a band that's listening, a band that's a new, young, up and coming band, if you got something you can bring to the table to this tour, we'd definitely be interested in entertaining that idea.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me here.
Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate it too.
Yeah, man. All right, you guys stick around, okay?